Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Secretary for Cardona, for coming before us today to talk about the budget. I've got several questions, but I want to start off with the charter school program. And on that, in my district alone, almost 17,000 students attend charter schools, and over half of those students are minority students. And the majority of those minority students are Hispanic. Now, I understand you talked about increase in Title I funding, but this program still is still very much needed in my community. My own kids attended charter schools for the first 5 years of their schooling, the older three. I have six, so I have a lot to experience here. But given the popularity of the program, why does your budget propose a $40 million cut to the CSP?
Thank you, Congressman. I agree that I've seen examples of charter schools that do exceptional work, public charter schools, and I visited E.L. Haynes recently, a fantastic school. To be very frank with you, the demand hasn't kept up, and I just want to remind folks, the charter school, even with the proposed $40 million cut there, the charter school competitive grant is still the largest pre-K-12 grant that we have at the Department of Education. The demand has really diminished. So in keeping with the Fiscal Responsibility Act, that's a concern that we have.
Let me jump in here because when you look at you talk about the size of the budget, less than 1% of K through 12 of the K through 12 federal spending is on charter schools. Mm-hmm. So that's a very low number based on the demand that I see in my district. Now you talk about the demand. So let me say this respectfully from the meetings that I have with educators, with parents of kids that my kids went to school with, it's evident to me that the slow spending is not due to the lack of interest in applying, but rather the burdensome regulations your department has put on this program. I've heard that from many people. Mm-hmm. Like I said, educators, teachers, those that are trying to start charter schools, right. The regulations and just the burdensome toll of people trying to start these schools is incredible. So charter school leaders have told me that the wait times and the red tape that exists when applying for the programs make many give up on the application process entirely. And I've seen that happen with people that I personally know. So rather than suggesting a cut in the program, I would suggest you meet with charter school leaders about the current difficulties they're facing when applying to this program. You mentioned you visited a school recently. From what I saw in the reports, I think you've visited a couple of them. But there are a lot of great examples out there, and my state included. I would personally invite you to come to Arizona, and I can show you some of the best charter schools that you'll see in the country that do this work, that are high performing, that are working for our students. And let me tell you something, in mostly all of them, there is a waiting list. Yeah. So I respectfully disagree with the fact that there isn't a demand. There's actually more demand than there's even being able to be met with. And the majority of the charter schools, at least in my district, are in the K-8 section. There are very few high schools, so students, after they go through a charter school life experience, then they're left with very little options at the end in high school. That's at least the story in my district. So I want to push back on that a little bit and say the demand is there. The demand is there, but when you make it as hard as the department has made it for the charter schools to actually be erected and work and function for our kids, again, let me say, in my district, the vast majority of these kids being minority students, and the majority of that group are Hispanics, like my kids' example, that's a problem.
I appreciate your passion.
I'm very passionate.
And I welcome an opportunity to visit with you in Arizona. I think anytime we can show bipartisan effort on supporting students, I welcome that. I will tell you with this grant that I'm speaking to specifically, and I'm going to ask my team to follow up with you on sharing the demand. With regard to the notion of making it difficult, look, we've increased accountability across the board, all schools. We should not be satisfied in this country with where our students are. We have to raise the bar, and that means across the board, we're increasing accountability because that's what our students deserve.
Well, we need to let me, just because I'm out of time here, we need to increase accountability. Of course, we need to make sure that parents have the choice for their kids' education, and that is what I'm very passionate about. It's choice in education that parents should have. My family moved to this country when I was 11 years old. We immigrated here. The top reason why we came here was a better job for my parents and a better education for the kids. That was us. That's what we need to be protecting. That's what we need to be fighting for. I admire your story and your background and where you came from, where you are today. We got to work together, like you said, on a bipartisan basis to make sure that all students, regardless of their background, can have a real shot at the American dream, and that comes through education. So I reiterate my invitation to you to Arizona. I look forward to working with you on help welcoming you there.
Thank you.
I yield back, sir. Thank you.